First half this year has been an improvement over last year with faces that were new to Kansas City. Ned Yost in the dugout, Scott Pasednik at the top of the order, and Jason Kendall behind the plate. Royals finish the first half with a winning road trip and begin the second half with their ace on the mound. The Royals and the A's are next on Fox Sports Kansas City. Expected tonight at Conference Stadium to welcome the Royals back after a long road trip and the All-Star break. And the Royals begin the second half with a 6-game homestand and a 3-game series against the Oakland A's. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the ballpark. I'm Ryan Lefevre with Royals Hall of Famer Frank White. And for the past 2 off seasons, General Manager Dayton Moore tried to go out and fill some holes to help the Royals on offense. Last year it didn't work out the way he had hoped. This year the new players have really had a big impact, and the Royals have had a positive impact with a change in the dugout.
Well, they really did, Ryan. Bringing Ned Yost in really turned this team around, and he showed these guys that they can go out and play relaxed and they can play without any fear. They and just be able to make some mistakes and get away with it. But he also brought accountability to the dugout, and I think the players really appreciate that.
And when we talk about improvements as far as new players go, it's not just at the plate, but also what they've done defensively.
Well, I tell you, defense has been the key. I mean, it goes along with pitching. And Scott Pasednik in left field has played very well out there for the Royals. And offensively, he's done everything from the leadoff spot you can ask him to do: get on base, steal bases, and score runs. Jason Kendall, a great acquisition. He came leadership behind the plate, not only with the pitching, but from a defensive standpoint. And also, since moving into the number 2 spot, has really helped the Royals offense.
And then you mix that with big seasons from returning players.
A man for all season, David DeZeus. He just continues to get better, played all 3 outfield positions for the Royals, and they've played them very well. Now, offensively, around 326, he's just, to me, Ryan, he just arrived as a major league player. Billy Butler is really benefited from those 3 guys we talked about. You talked about Pasednik, DeZeus, and Kendall, and Billy sitting back there letting those guys get on, and he's taking advantage of it.
So while the offense was off and running this year, Zach Greinke, last year's Cy Young winner, got off to a very slow start. In fact, he was just 1-8 to begin the year, but he's really picked things up in his last 4 starts.
Well, he really has, and I think making that mechanical adjustment in his windup, I think it's really made the big difference, Ryan. Since he's made that adjustment, he's won 3 in a row.
And his last start was a win at Seattle as the Royals swept a 3-game series from the Mariners. The only bad thing that came with that series was Jose Guillen injuring his left leg, but it didn't bother his bat in the 3-game series in Chicago. On the other hand, the A's have had big injury problems, and we'll talk about that when we come back. Motors. To learn more, visit kia.com. By Kellogg's, the best to you each morning. Right now, the Oakland A's have 9, count them, 9 players on the disabled list, and 3 from their opening day starting rotation.
But Ryan, you need your starters to make any headway in the standings, and the A's have missed 3 of their top guys, but at the same time they're 3rd in the league in ERA, so they're getting it done without these guys, and they just look to get them back, and things will be better for their overall team.
Here's our lineup tonight, presented by M&I Bank, and this is not your older brother's Oakland A's. This isn't go for the walk and sit back for the 3-run home run. These A's will run. They will drop down a sacrifice bunt, believe it or not. So a completely different look from their offense. Going up against Zach Greinke, and here's the key report.
Well, Zach, if they're going to bunt, he's going to be the guy on the mound that's going to help himself, Ryan. But a 73 career record when pitching on 6 or more days of rest. And second half begins, he's 27-22 post-All-Star game.
It all started for Zach against the Oakland A's back in 2004. He is 4-0 against the A's. Very few have given him a bad time. But Kurt Suzuki, their catcher, is a .385 career hitter against Zach. The first pitch is next.
Of the baseball. We're going to have much more coming up throughout the game, guys.
All right, thanks, Joel. Oh. I'm sure outside the Royals Hall of Fame, and with more on that, here's Joel and Split.
All right, guys, thanks. Certainly a lot going on out here at the Hall of Fame, and Split and I had a chance to be out here during the pregame show. Look at this, the history of the baseball. How would you like to pitch with this thing?
Well, they didn't give you a glove. That would have been the first problem, but it's soft. It's about the same size, but it's soft and just one piece of leather, so it ends up crisscrossing right here. I wonder what that would do for movement.
For movement, and nobody was hitting a home run with this thing.
I don't think so. This is almost like a tennis ball, the way it feels right now.
Like a soft, squishy,
yeah.
And then over the years it evolved more of that lemon peel, what they're calling it, and then finally in 1872 the two-piece cover.
Two-piece cover. All of a sudden now you have some symmetry to it, to where you can make a ball be consistent in what it's going to do movement-wise.
And then this is the one, I guess. I mean, you played with this one, right? You didn't play with any of those other ones.
If it's ticking, like there's a heartbeat in there, I played with it.
Awesome stuff out here. This is just one little section, the history of the baseball. We're going to have much more coming up throughout the game, guys.
All right, thank you, Joel and Split, the Cooperstown corner out in the Royals Hall of Fame, and we will visit with Joel and Split periodically during the game tonight. It is 1-2 on Coco Crisp, who played with the Royals last year, ended up having surgery on both of his shoulders, and has been on the disabled list twice this year with the A's.
I talked to him a little bit before the game. He said things were not quite where he wants them to be, but he feels good enough to swing the bat, and his legs are good, and that's how he's contributing to the ball club right now.
He broke his pinky during spring training, sliding into first base. And then after he came back from that, went on the disabled list with a strained chest muscle. And that is off the line. Looked like it kicked up some chalk. Todd Steverson, the A's first base coach, going to talk it over with Larry Vanover, and manager Bob Guerin is going to come out.
But you can see where Larry got a little confused there, moving to the inside, Ryan. That's about as close as you can get. He's jumping out of the way, and he never took his eye off the ball.
It may have caught the corner of the line. I thought I saw a little bit of white jump up off the dirt. Yeah, do you see a little splash of white? Well, now the umpires are going to talk this one over.
Well, I don't think there's any way that third base umpire and the second base umpire can help in this discussion right here.
Maybe the home plate umpire, though.
He'd be the only one. Maybe they should ask Billy.
And then, of course, it would be, if they rule fair ball, it's in the umpire's judgment. Where would Coco Crisp have landed if that ball went down into the corner?
Triple.
That's what we say. I would be surprised, even though he may have very well had a triple, if they would give him third base. So at the count, 2 balls, 2 strikes, and the umpires talk it over. Zach comes down and renews his acquaintance with Coco Crisp. How you been, Coco? Haven't seen you since last year.
Well, that's a first for me right there.
What do you think I had to throw you on this next pitch?
Well, I tried to get this one down and in, and you hit a possible double, possible triple, possible nothing. I don't know where to go with this next pitch.
Well, they are going to award Coco Crisp. It looks like they're going to hold him at first base.
Well, that's not
maybe,
really.
No, he's going to touch first. They're going to make him touch first, then they're going to give him second base.
You know, Ryan, I've never had a play like this reviewed by the umpires or by anybody else. I mean, this is a judgment call, and Larry Vanover obviously had his eye on the ball, and he made the call that he thought he should have made. I don't know. I don't know where the game is going right now. I don't know if you get every play huddled up, and they changing plays, and I mean, you can't. I don't think the game was designed to do that. They're taking all the human element out of the game.
Well, I think I see a splash of white when this thing hits the ground. I could be wrong. Just a little splash after the ball hits the ground. Looked like it may have hit the edge of the line.
Well, I just think the fact that he was looking at the play and he made the call. I think the call should have stood the way he made it. I don't think you can get together on every play that goes on the field now and say, well, what do you think? And especially you calling the third base umpire and the second base umpire, those two guys should have never been a part of this discussion.
Now, Ned Yost has gone on the record before in talking about instant replay. He hasn't really come out and said whether he is pro instant replay the way it is now or expanded instant replay, but he has said that in his mind it's about getting the call right. So I think that's why perhaps he didn't argue as vehemently as maybe another manager would with that reversal, but it's a double and Crisp is at second base with nobody out.
I think it might be a situation. It's the first inning too. You do that play in the ninth inning, you tie ball game or you down up by a run, and all of a sudden the guy's got a free base on a call like that. I don't think he'd be as happy about this call as he is right now.
So Derek Barton bats, and Zach misses outside, ball 1. Barton with a very good eye. He has the most walks in the American League with 54. He also has the second most sacrifice bunts. So he could lay one down to try and get Crisp over to third base. Zach has fallen behind 2 balls and no strikes. Now 3 balls, no strikes. And it wouldn't be a big surprise if it takes Zach a little while to get his rhythm back after all that standing around, as the umpires were discussing the line drive from Coco Crisp and the little chat that he had with Coco at the plate.
But normally a pitcher would use that time to his benefit to just kind of keep his arm loose, just throw a pitch every now and then. But Zach feels pretty confident that he's ready to go. And like you say, Ryan, it will take something away from you. You just don't know exactly where it's going to take it further. But mainly it's going to be in your command when you get back on the mound.
Three balls, 2 strikes. A big thunderstorm just missed Kauffman Stadium. We got a few sprinkles, but most of it stayed to the west, and now we have a beautiful night, 79 degrees. The storm sucked out a lot of the heat and humidity, so it's a pleasant night at the ballpark. Time and temp brought to you by the parking spot at KCI. And now a walk, and that's number 55 for Derek Barton to add to his league lead. So runners at first and second with nobody out. And Royals baseball comes to you from Kauffman Stadium in high definition, brought to you by Time Warner Cable, where HD is free with digital cable.
Around this situation here with Suzuki up, that the A's aren't hitting a lot of home runs and the slugger percentage is down, and this may be a good bunt situation for him also.
Told you at the beginning of the broadcast that Suzuki has good numbers against Zach in his career, 5 hits in 13 at-bats. He is the only Oakland A's hitter that is double digits in home runs. And he is right at 10. 1 ball, 1 strike. Suzuki with his trademark puka shell necklace around his neck. He is from Maui, Hawaii. So he, along with Shane Victorino and the Royals' Kanekoa Teixeira, are the only major leaguers from that island. Chops it to short. Chance for 2. They get the out at second base. And Aviles decided not to throw to first. So the Royals get 1 out. And there are runners at first and third.
Well, I think Mike definitely had a shot at first base on him. Yuniesky does a good job backing up and gives him a nice throw right here. But almost like he had made his mind up. He was just going to get 1 out and didn't make the attempt at the double play.
So Eddie Rodriguez sets the infield for Jack Cust with Crisp at third base, Suzuki at first. And he drives that into right field. DeJesus is there, plenty deep to score the run. So a double play and the inning is over. And the fans are really going to let the umpires have it again as Coco Crisp, given second base after first base umpire Larry Vanover called his line drive foul. The umpires got together, gave him a double, and he comes around to score. Here are the Royals defensively, presented by Suzuki. It's Willie Bloomquist in center field as the A's are starting lefty Gio Gonzalez. Jason Kendall, the former A's catcher, behind the plate for Zach Greinke. And now a strike to Kevin Kuzminoff. And the All-Star break came at a great time for him. Just before the break, On July the 5th, he put an end to an 0 for 30. 1 ball, 1 strike. You remember your longest 0 for in the big leagues?
It was in there somewhere. It's not any fun to go through them, that's for sure. You try everything. You change your stance, change your hands. I wasn't a big clothes guy, changing T-shirts, those favorite T-shirts and stuff. But sometimes it's just getting that rut and just hard time coming out.
I mean, if you're getting 4 at bats a game, I mean that's an 0 for a week, a whole week.
I've been there. I just look, I can play defense.
Still 1 ball, 2 strikes. Zach made his major league debut against the Oakland A's back on May the 22nd of 2004. Can you believe it? It's been more than 6 years. He ended up with a no decision, gave up 2 runs in 5 innings, and he has never lost to the Oakland A's. And now he's going to pick off Kurt Suzuki. So the inning comes to an end, but the A's get some help from the umpires to take the lead. Jesus finished the first half 7th in the league in hitting. Billy Butler was 10th in the league with his .322 average. Willie Bloomquist will play tonight as the Royals will face a left-hand pitcher. It is Gio Gonzalez. Here's the Kia report.
Ryan, patience will definitely pay off for the Royals tonight against Gio Gonzalez. Still, he shows them he can throw strikes. Too many free passes, 13 walks his last 3 starts. But he can be tough on lefties, and the Royals have 2 lefties that's hanging there pretty good. 3 runs less support in his last 6 starts, so he's up against it tonight. With the walks and not a lot of run support, if he can put those together, then he'll be okay. But I think the biggest thing is making those strikes.
And he throws a strike to Scott Posednik. Scott finished the first half hitting .324 on the long road trip through Anaheim, Seattle, and Chicago, and that was right after the birth of his first son, Nixon. So that gave his game a lift, much like when David DeJesus Jr. was born. Shoots it up the left field line, and that's down into the corner. So the Royals, just like the A's, open the first inning with a double. And for Posednik, that's his 7th of the year.
Well, Scott just picks up where he left off in the first half, Ryan, and this is just taking what you give him right there. Fastball up, out over the plate, just guides it down the left field line, and anything down the line for him is definitely going to be 2 bases. This is an easy run to second base for Scott Posednik right here.
Ball one to Jason Kendall. Kendall as well had a good trip. He hit .314 during the 9-game road trip. A former catcher for the A's. He was with them 2005, 2006, and part of 2007. And during that 2007 season, the A's weren't going anywhere. The Chicago Cubs needed some help behind the plate. So Jason was traded to Chicago and then spent the next 2 years with the Milwaukee Brewers. And that swing was designed to get something over to the right side. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Oh, you're right. Jason usually doesn't change his swing that drastically to get the ball the other way, but you can tell right away he had not only wanted to try to get it over there, but just really wanted to drive it over there. And you could see the obvious manipulating of the bat in that swing.
Sednick has 25 stolen bases. That's the 4th best total in the American League. Had a couple of stolen bases on the road trip. Three balls and 1 strike. Royals have only seen Gio Gonzalez twice before tonight. Once last year. He pitched to a no decision. 2 years ago, the Royals beat Gio Gonzalez. His ERA is over 7.5 against the Royals. Kendall again trying to get it over to the right side. 3 balls and 2 strikes. He has a big arm, but he is only 5'11", 24 years old. And the Oakland A's, it seems, have had a forever young pitching rotation. Every year it seems their pitching staff is, at least the rotation is one of the youngest in the American League. This year it is the youngest, as Kendall floats it out into shallow right field and ends up with a base hit. So he did better than advance Pasednik to third. He reached himself, and the Royals come back with runners at first and third and nobody out.
Jason was definitely determined to get this ball to the right side, and this ball is well inside, and he did a good job pulling his hands in and got in that ball right over first base. You can see right here he's giving up inside, the pitch is in, and that's some kind of hitting right there. That's determination to get the job done.
You know, it might not be the prettiest swing you'll ever see, but he gets the job done, and in my book that sure looks a lot better than a guy lining out to the shortstop.
I agree.
Runner at second base.
I definitely agree with that. Usually when you go to 3-2, the hitter kind of goes back to what he normally does, but Jason definitely stayed with what the job called for in that swing.
David DeJesus at .326, 7th in the American League. Trying to avoid a ground ball and a double play with runners at first and third and nobody out. And there's the ground ball. The Royals will get a run. The A's will get 2 outs. So no RBI, but Pasednik comes down to tie the game. Take a look at the A's defensively, presented by Suzuki, with Davis, Crisp, and Gabe Gross in the outfield. Kuzmanov, Pennington, Ellis, the former Royals farmhand, and Barton at first. And Kurt Suzuki rounds out the Suzuki defense. So 2 outs, nobody on, and a strike to Billy Butler. He has a history with Gio Gonzalez, both from Florida. They played with and against one another in high school. And Billy is 1 for 3 with a home run against Gonzalez. This time Gonzalez gets him on a ground ball to short. Royals tie the game on Pasednik's double.
around the Hall of Fame a little bit. Big crowds passing through here today, and we're out here with Kurt Nelson, who knows everything about everything that is in here. Now, the knowledge is great, and this wall has 46 players, coaches, managers, executives that have Kansas City ties, and they're great stories. But I want to look up here at this one right here, Kurt, and the name, Charles Dillon Casey Stengel, Kansas City ties.
That's right. Casey was actually born and raised here in Kansas City, and you can see in that picture he's actually wearing Kansas City Red Sox, which was an amateur team at the time, so he was a very young man playing there. He did come back and play with the Blues in 1910 and managed them in 1945 before going to New York and managing the New York Yankees.
So Casey Stengel, and then many others. You see Whitey Herzog right here as well on the wall, and lots of famous players, coaches, executives, managers, on and on. Just a little bit of the Hall of Fame, guys. We'll come back out here in just a little bit.
Okay, thank you, Joel. I tell you, Kurt has done a wonderful job with the Royals Hall of Fame, and we'll say it again. If you have a chance to come out and see the Hall of Fame, just make sure you get here early so you have time to see as close to everything. Runner safe at first, and now coming around third and scoring is Kuzminoff, as Zach Greinke's throw to first was wild. So just 2 pitches into the top of the second inning, and the A's have regained the lead. So the double from Kuzminoff, and then an error by Zach, and no RBI for Ellis.
Zach really makes a good pitch here. Ellis hits right on top of it, right out in front of the plate. Zach really just tried to maybe rush this a little too much, and just held on to it and pulled Billy off the bag, and it was just easy for Kuzminoff to come around and score once that ball got by Billy at first base.
How about sliding right over the bat?
That's one of the things that catchers don't help you with. If they see that bat laying there, they'll leave it there and hope you try to go around it. And he did a good job sliding into it and making the bat move itself.
Now, wait a minute. You say the catcher won't move it, but they hope that you slide around it? They don't care whether you slide around it or not, do you?
Well, they want you to go around it. It take a little bit longer to gives them a little more time.
All right.
That's why they leave it in the baseline. You got to go around it. I mean, a base runner not going to slide on top of that bat on purpose, and he tried to kick it as he slid, but he did end up going over a little bit anyway.
Unless you go kamikaze like Kuzminoff and just slide right over it.
Yeah, you hate to do that. That's when you get a bone bruise in the hip or anything go wrong in that situation. But catchers don't help you out in that situation. Sometimes they'll drop their mask right there and leave it there.
Now, Jason Kendall wouldn't do something like that, would he? 2 balls and 1 strike on Gabe Gross.
Well, that's what you tell that on-deck hitter. The on-deck hitter really is a guy that's supposed to get up there and get that bat out of the way if he can. But so much going on so quickly, he probably couldn't get in there and get it out of the way. But that's the on-deck hitter's job, is to get the stuff out of the way for the guy coming in to score.
Runner going, and it's lifted to left field. Posednik retires Gabe Gross. So Ellis back to first base. 1 away. Coming up on Sunday as this series wraps up, we hope you'll join us as young fans here at the ballpark. We'll get a Billy Butler Youth replica bat. That's courtesy of Fox Sports Kansas City, so get your tickets now. You can go to 1-800-6-ROYALS or online at royals.com. So Ellis at first, 1 out, and Zach almost threw that away. Normally, and you're talking about the last 10, 15 years with the Oakland A's, throwing over to first base is a waste of time because they weren't going anywhere. Stolen bases, sacrifice bunts. I mean, that was just hit and run. That was not in the A's playbook. They had the high on base percentage guys and just kind of sit back and wait for the big inning. But with the lack of power over the past 2 or 3 years, they've had to adjust. And the A's, and I mean, you really have to squint to make sense of this. They are 5th in the American League in stolen bases.
Well, all it takes is lack of run production to get you to change your game. And you'd like to be able to stick to a philosophy and keep it. But as your players change and you lose that power aspect of the game, and that changes a lot of things. So you got to figure out a way to create runs. And the best way is to hit and run and steal bases.
Chance for 2. And the Royals got it. A's regain the lead thanks to an error.
And some really cool memorabilia here. This is a sweater worn by a pitcher in the 1914 World Series by the Philadelphia A's. And then how about these two baseballs here, Kurt?
Two of my favorite things that we have on loan from the Hall of Fame. This first one is the 1927 New York Yankees, Murderers Row, as they called it. And you can see Babe Ruth signing right there on that. And you knew he was the star of the team because he signed right there on the sweet spot. That would normally be, I think, one of the coolest things. But if you look right next to it, that ball right there is the first baseball ever used in World Series play, 1903, the very first World Series. So, and they used that ball the whole game long, too. They didn't use a whole bunch of baseballs.
Yeah, that doesn't happen anymore. All right, great stuff, Kurt. And by the way, Frank, could you imagine playing in this sweater right here on this warm night? That's what Charles Chief Bender did for the Philadelphia Athletics in 1914, guys.
Well, he actually wore that in the game?
In the game. I mean, Joel, are you sure that isn't something that they wore after the game when they were on like 18th and Vine or something like that?
It's a great question for Kurt. Ryan wants to know if they didn't just wear this sweater out to 18th and Vine after the game, not actually during. They wore this during the game. There's some grass on it still, I think.
They actually did wear these during the game. You got to remember that this is Philadelphia, and this was used during the World Series, so of course it's October. There's a great picture of one of our teams in Kansas City, the Kansas City Packers in 1914, the Federal League. They're all decked out in these in the beginning of the year in April for the team picture, so I don't know how that worked in Kansas City.
All right, I don't know if I can take this or if there are any others or replicas, but I don't know. Maybe we can get a Fox Sports Kansas City logo on it, and we can break that out at some point, guys.
Right center field, and Gabe Gross, after a little breakdown in communication with Coco Crisp, comes over to retire Jose Guillen. So one away in the bottom of the second inning. Well, there have been many advances in this game over the years, and from a player's point of view, I would think right at the top of the list are the more comfortable and cooler uniforms.
Well, definitely. I can't see running around in that thing sliding head first or sliding anywhere. That's a nice looking sweater to be worn after the game somewhere.
Alberto Callaspo, who had a tough road trip to end the first half, begins the second half with a base hit to left field. Alberto hit just .222 on the trip, and that got his average down to .274. Here's the pitch location brought to you by Chevy.
Well, Caspo does a good job, Ryan. This pitch is down and to the inside, and he did a good job just throwing the bat head down onto the ball. See, he's going straight down off his shoulder. Did a good job getting to it, getting the fat part of the bat on there, and getting him a base hit to left field.
0-1 to Mike Aviles. Like Callaspo, Aviles had a tough end to the first half, just 6 out of 30 on the trip. That's 200, and he is 0 for his last 9. Blocked by Suzuki. He had no intent to glove that ball. He just threw his body in front of it and kept it in front of him.
Hey, Ryan, I think with the Royals are going to increase their run production in the second half of the season. I think they need to really look at all the different situations they have where they can advance runners. Like you got Avila's hitting now with Caspo on first, can't steal, but he's swinging the bat not quite as well, but good hit and run situations. But try to take advantage of all the different combinations to score runs as they can.
Back to the mound. Gonzalez will go down to second base, and the A's will only get Callaspo. So 2 down, and Avilas at first. Time for tonight's You Call It, presented by Sprint, and it's that time of year where we start talking about trades. So we ask you, should the Royals be buyers or sellers? Text 432-432, enter keyword Royals, a space, A for buyers, or B, sellers. It's a strike to Willie Bloomquist. So in other words, if you say the Royals should be buyers, that they should hang on to the 25-man roster that they have now and add veteran-type players and keep or trade some prospects to get those veteran players, or do the reverse. Do they trade the veteran players they have right now in the big league roster and try and pick up another team's prospects and add those guys to a stable of young talent at AA Northwest Arkansas? These are the results from Hy-Vee Royals Live. It was 62%, but now those watching during the game have changed the ratio, and now it's 55% want the Royals to be sellers. Willie Bloomquist lost his bat, but he singles to left. So 2 on, 2 out.
Well, Willie does a good job here. Watch him pull his hands in to get to this ball. He didn't quite get it to the fat barrel of the bat, but enough to put it right in a good spot to get him a base hit to left field. It's right about the trademark, and just strong enough to get that ball by Kuzmanoff at third base. But he's definitely getting that ball in on the hands. That's great. Great pitching, but Willie won that battle.
So first and second, Royals down by 1. And now Yuniesky Betancourt. He has done very well against Gio Gonzalez. He drops a curveball in for a strike. Doesn't have a lot of career at-bats against the A's lefty, but in 9 at-bats, 4 hits, and 3 of the 4 hits have been doubles. Going to chop it to the left side. Pennington will throw him out, and the Royals strand 2 in the second inning. menu of hearty soups, salads, sandwiches, and breakfast items at Panera Bread. And by Thoroughbred Ford. Get the best deals now on an exciting selection of Mustangs at Thoroughbred Ford. Both teams scored in the first inning, and the A's taking the lead in the top of the second. It'll be Cliff Pennington, Coco Crisp, and Derek Barton in the third. Pennington, a switch hitter, former A's first round pick out of Texas A&M back in 2005. Zach falls behind, 3 balls, no strikes. Three and 1, 3-game series with the A's. Tomorrow it's Bruce Chen against Trevor Cahill, who was named to the All-Star team. He won 9 games in the first half for the A's. As Pennington takes a walk. And that's Zach's second. So that's the pitching matchup for tomorrow. The first 20,000 fans that come out to the ballpark will receive a KC Retro cap presented by Hy-Vee. So you can get your tickets for that right now at Royals.com or 1-800-6-ROYALS. Good looking cap. There's Morgan out in left field. He gives it a thumbs up. Good fit, Morgan. Oh, so is it the hat or is that your head? It's his head. Okay. So Pennington at first, and now Coco Crisp, and a very odd beginning to the game tonight. With the count 2 balls, 2 strikes, Coco hit a line drive up the first base side, which was first ruled foul by first base umpire Larry Vanover. The A's argued, the umpires got together, and they changed the call, giving Coco a double.
Well, Ryan, this is one of those judgment calls right here where Larry Vanover had his eyes on the ball totally all the way, and he calls it foul, and then he calls the home plate umpire down. And I've never in my years, I've never seen this happen on a line drive that's fair or foul. And home run, yeah, but on a regular base hit, no.
Did he go around? No. Jeff Nelson is the umpire at third. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Coco Crisp, who eventually came around to score on a sacrifice fly in the first inning. I personally, Frank, think we're going to see more and more of that. Umpires getting together and talking about calls that we're not used to seeing. And we are partly to blame for that. Coco taking in the dirt. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And television has come a long way over the past 20 years in making it a lot more fan friendly for those watching at home or wherever. But it's really given the umpires a disadvantage because we can show you 5 or 6 angles that the umpires don't have. And let's face it, that's why instant replay is in football today and in baseball, because there are more ways today to prove the officials in football or the umpires in baseball wrong. And I think both industries have tried to do something to protect the umpires.
I don't know, sometimes I think you hurt the umpires because you're taking their ability to make a decision and stay with it away, because if someone questions anything they call, then they huddle up, then they try to change it. I mean, whether it be right or wrong for the Royals or for the A's is not important, but I think the important thing is that they really need to
that is a drop ball, no transition, and the Royals are going to be hit with their second error in the first 3 innings.
I just think they need to believe in what they call. Zach, he's one of the best defenders on the mound in the American League, Ryan, and he does a good job here getting this a good throw to Yuniesky Betancourt, and he tried to catch it with one hand, and if he uses 2 hands on this play, then he makes this play. But you can see right here, he just didn't concentrate trying to get the ball into his glove. He tried to go into his move and catch the ball at the same time, and the key thing in this position here is just make sure you get one out.
Barton, who is among the league leaders in sack bunts, drops one down. Butler gets it to Aviles, and that is the 11th sacrifice bunt for Barton. That ties him for the league lead and puts runners at second and third with one out. Well, Frank, I agree with you. I mean, I don't want to see this get out of hand. And to defend Larry Vanover, he was jumping out of the way trying to avoid the ball and see it at the same time. So he makes a call right away, but maybe in his mind he didn't get a great look at it, and you bring the umpires together. But if Larry Vanover doesn't have to move, and he knows 100%, he knows he did not miss the call. I don't think every little thing is going to cause the umpires to come together. I hope I'm right there.
Well, I hope you're right too. But if you were watching that in that replay, even though his body was moving to the inside part, his head stayed right on the ball, and he had an opportunity to see the ball go by, and then he made the call. I mean, he's coming to the inside, so even though he's trying to get his leg out of the way, see his head's right there on the ball, all the way down the line. I mean, it's not like he didn't see the play, and then he calls it right away. I mean, it's not like he had any hesitation or anything like that. He makes his call right away. So, I mean, there are going to be certain things on the field you're going to argue about, but if they're going to go and try to change plays like this, I mean, this is getting ridiculous. I mean, at some point, you're not going to need umpires out there.
1 ball, 1 strike.
You know, I would rather see the umpires make a call and stick with it than make a call and feel comfortable that you made the right call, and all of a sudden you go change it and you just call everybody. I mean, why you bring the third base umpire and the second base umpire over on this play? I mean, only the home plate umpire could see it. So those two guys should have been the one talking.
I'm guessing maybe in that case it just looks better when they all come together, and maybe the second base or third base umpire would have some input on where Coco would have been if that was a fair ball and helping place him. But you're right. I mean, we know third base umpire.
Well, we know where he would have been.
But that's not where they put him. We think he would have gone to third, but they placed him at second. 3 balls and 1 strike on Suzuki.
So we're 0 for 2.
You know, trying to see it from the umpire's point of view. Yeah, there's the human element of it, but if that ball does hit the chalk and it appears it hit the edge of the chalk, we can show you that it hit the chalk, and then we're going to have a close-up of Larry Vanover because he missed the call, and then the A's are going to go look at the tape, and they're going to realize that they should have had a double that was taken away, so they're going to be upset at Larry Vanover. They're going to maybe send a complaint to the office, and so on one hand, yeah, you do have the human element, but you have the human element being evaluated by things that are beyond the human eye.
Zach makes a nice pitch here, running in.
Nice transition.
Was able to do that, but you know, Ryan. But the thing is, though, TV's been around a long time.
Not like this.
You know,
in the 1950s, there would have been a foul ball and we would have moved on.
Well, when I played, it was close to this. They had replay, but you can't go back and say, well, every play get together and let's change it. You can't do that.
Well, I know, I agree with you on that one. I'm just saying, though, and I'm just trying to see it from Larry Vanover's point of view, that maybe he wasn't 100% sure that he got a good look at it. Now, if he didn't have to move and he knew it was a foul ball, and Todd Steverson and Bob Guerin come out and he says, no, I know it was foul, go back, and we're done. But maybe in his mind, he wasn't quite sure what he saw and he wanted to get it right.
End of discussion.
So the base is loaded with 1 out. Jack Cust at the plate. He had a sac fly in the first inning. And he pops this one up. This will not get a runner home. They call the infield fly rule. And Betancourt makes the play off to the side. So Cust this time does not drive the runner home. So the bases are loaded with 2 down. So now Kevin Kuzminoff, who opened the second inning with a double to left center field and ended up scoring on a play where there was an error, but it was ruled an earned run, as the official score believed that Kuzminoff would eventually have scored even without the error. And Zach throws a fastball right by him at 96. So an error and 2 walks. But no runs so far for the A's. Up the middle and into center field. Coco Crisp is the runner at second base, so he will score. And Kevin Kuzminoff drives in 2, and the A's have a 4-1 lead.
This is a good fastball by Zach. Is down. Kuzma did a good job going down and driving this ball back through the middle. It just right past Zach into center field and scored 2 runs. Coco Crisp scoring easily from second base.
So one of the walks and the error come around to score. And Zach clearly does not have his good control tonight. And we showed you at the key report that when Zach has extra rest, that has helped him over the course of his career. But we're talking about 9 days rest this time around, after he was scratched on Sunday, the final game before the All-Star break.
I believe he threw a side on Wednesday and just see how he felt, and that's a nice little tune-up. And he said he threw free and easy in that session. So, like you say, Ryan, it's a matter of just getting back on the mound and getting competitive again. It's been a long time since you've been out there. And you just got to make that mental transition to being competitive when you get on the mound.
Mark Ellis reached on an error by Zach his first time, and now Zach has 3 balls and no strikes. His velocity appears to be okay, and you hope that this is just some rust because of the long layoff and not an effect of his tweaking his shoulder in his last start in Seattle. We rarely see Zach missing as much as he has tonight. Of course, the bar is pretty high for him.
I think if Bob McClure's going to be concerned, it'd probably be for the high pitch count per batter, and just getting behind in the count and having to come in there and have him getting base hits off of you.
The throw goes to third, and the runner is out. But Suzuki had crossed home plate, so it was close. It almost saved a run. The A's come up with 3 in the third. Smart play. They almost. The University of Kansas Medical Center, Max Berenbaum of Kansas City immediately started volunteering at Children's Mercy Hospital. After 20 years, the 90-year-old is still helping the children and families who are receiving treatment at the hospital. And Max, it says here, stays in shape by walking 4 miles and does 50 push-ups every day. No balls, 2 strikes on Scott Pasednik, who led off the bottom of the first with a double and scored on a double play. And that tied the game at 1, but the A's have scored in each of the first 3 innings against Zach Greinke. Royals have committed a couple of errors, and Zach has walked 3. Shallow left field. Davis started in and now corrects and makes the play. 1 down. Let's go back out to the Hall of Fame, and here's Joel.
Well, we've got this exhibit here. It is the history of the glove, and you see a big picture of a glove on the wall. That's actually Frank White's glove. So, you know, they got to get the picture of an accurate glove. Of course, they didn't start Kurt Nelson coming back in here with Frank White, the glove that he used. He started with actually no glove.
They started actually with no gloves. You know, Frank's glove is actually very small. You know, it's big up here. But Frank played with that small glove. But when we first started playing baseball, they didn't use any gloves at all. And then you can see this very first glove. That's sort of the first era of gloves right there. And it's really just sort of like a workman's glove. And it was used to knock the ball down more than to catch it. And then you can see as we go further along the evolution that it became sort of more of something that you could actually catch the ball with a little bit later on.
So you look down the line here and some of these gloves. This is looking a little bit better, I guess. This is kind of, you know, Frank's got that small glove, those infielders. Maybe this is a little bit closer, maybe not quite. That's a Babe Ruth outfield glove in 1929. Eventually we get down to what we see today.
Eventually we get down to what we see today, and you can see those over there. You have the catcher's mitt and the infielder's glove and the outfielder's glove. The interesting thing about the catcher's mitt is really one of the first guys to ever use anything that resembled a catcher's mitt was a guy named Joe Gunnison, who played for the Kansas City Cowboys. So that thing was actually, the idea of the catcher's mitt was sort of invented in Kansas City.
All right, so there you go, the history of the glove. I don't know, Frank. I think you should have used this. The fingerless glove, 1881. Should try that out tomorrow, Frank.
Well, what they do, Joe, they try to bat it down. I don't know. That's like handball, isn't it? Man, well, that's amazing.
And the name of the company was Reach.
Yeah, then you had the glove with no laces between the fingers, so everything had to be caught in the palm, and probably with 2 hands.
One and one on David DeJesus. He grounded into a double play in the first inning that produced a run. Royals had runners at first and third, nobody out in the first, but DeJesus hit the double play, and then Billy Butler grounded out, and the Royals getting just 1. Gio Gonzalez, so tough on left-hand hitters and has one of the best curveballs in the American League. Or if you believe the words of Torrey Hunter, he once said Gio Gonzalez has the best left-handed curveball in the game. And look at what that curveball does to left-hand batters.
He does have a good one, right? He throws across his body, too, so real good deception with it, and it goes down hard and get right-handed hit on top of it. I mean, that's just one of the, what they call a good downer, and he's got one.
Fastball just missed outside. 3 balls, 2 strikes. David is 2 out of 6 against Gio Gonzalez with a home run. Stands way over on the third base side of the rubber. Got him with a fastball up and in. Royals are down in order in the third. Gonzalez strikes out 2. It's Roadrunner Turbo speed pitch comparison. Again, the velocity is there for Zach. He's hit 97. Gonzalez has hit 95. You can double your speed with Roadrunner Turbo from Time Warner Cable. Zach has not had his typical pinpoint control tonight. 3 walks. 2 of those walks coming around to score. Zach has committed an error. Unieski Betancourt has committed an error. And the A's have scored in each of the first 3 innings. Gabe Gross flied out to left field in the second inning. Rajai Davis and Cliff Pennington will follow. One and 2. A's getting a run on a sac fly in the first inning from Jack Cust. Kevin Kuzminoff scored from second base on Zach's throwing error in the second. And then Kuzminoff drove in 2. Mark Ellis 1 in a 3-run third. Trying to get him with the hard slider down and in. It's 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Around when you have that all-star break and you tend to relax your mind and everything else, and then you come back in that first game, that's why you had that workout the day before to try to get yourself going again and get ready for that first game of the second half. And you don't have that same poise when you get on the mound. That's what you got to really fight to get back in that same competitive mode that you were in before the break. And that's where you see the error by Greinke on the throw, maybe almost threw one away on the pickoff. Uni not concentrating enough on the throw from Zach, and even the indecision on Michael Vilas early in the first inning not to get the double play. So all those little things are just mind things that you really got to fight yourself back through to get into the second half of the season, get that first game out of the way.
Gross grounds out to Aviles, 1 away. This week on Fox Saturday Baseball, Andre Ethier leads the Dodgers into St. Louis to take on Albert Pujols and the Cardinals in a rematch of last year's divisional series. Fox Saturday Baseball presented by Taco Bell returns this week at 3 p.m. Central. Curveball buckled Rajai Davis. He was thinking about dropping down a bunt. Royals got him to ground into a double play to win the second inning. Royals had trouble with Davis last year. He hit .435 against the Royals. Back with a curveball again, and the count is 0-2.
That's a real good curveball by Zach. Great location, just off the plate. A good pitch that looked good enough, long enough for Roger Davis to commit, but when he went to his swing, it was off the plate. Excellent pitch by Zach.
And then goes with a hard slider down and away, so Davis overmatched in that plate appearance. And that is Zach's first strikeout.
So this is just going right from a 69 mile an hour curveball to an 87 mile an hour slider. And he had him out there. He's looking out there, and he just sped the ball up on him a little bit and got the strikeout.
Zach has not had an easy inning yet, but 1 out away from retiring the side. Last inning, Cliff Pennington, the number 9 hitter, led off with a walk, and that was the beginning of a 3-run inning. A little bit inside, 2 balls and no strikes. Zach's last start was against Seattle back on July the 6th, and he has a streak of 36 consecutive innings against the Mariners without allowing an earned run. And now Pennington takes low for a 4-pitch walk, and that is walk number 4 allowed by Zach, and the second to Pennington. So he was really dealing the last time he threw, but it was 9 days ago. Scratched on Sunday, and the Royals were not concerned that Zach would have any long-term effects of tweaking his shoulder on that July 6th evening in Seattle. Just wanted to be careful with him, having control problems tonight. Across the knees for strike one to Coco Crisp. Let's take another look at sprint, you call it. A little closer now. 57% think the Royals should be sellers as we approach the first trading deadline. It's coming up in a little over 2 weeks. 43% would like to see the Royals go into the market as buyers. Now, about a week ago, remember the Royals were 8 games back, and there was talk about still being in it. And the Royals certainly aren't out of it, but they begin the second half 11 games back in the Central Division. Still have to pass Minnesota and Detroit before they can think about Chicago.
I think a lot of it depends on where you think you are as a ball club, and the guys that you're thinking about next year coming in, the young players, what kind of difference you think they'll make. Will they make the team better and to the point where they're going to move up in the division, or are you going to be the same? And you got some pieces of this puzzle here that are pretty good. So how much of this you want to keep together? And if you are going to sell, then first of all, who are you going to sell? And then secondly, what are you going to get back? If you're going to get players that can come in here and play right away, I would say, yeah, sell. But if you're talking about minor league prospects again that are going to be through, a couple years away, and then when they get here another couple of years, then I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you're just spinning your wheels if you do that.
Still 1-2 on Coco Crisp. Coco doubled, came around to score in the first inning, reached on an error, and came around to score in the third. Still has that little triggering device with his top hand when he's getting ready for the pitch. I asked him last year what that was all about, and he did not want to tell me. Thought maybe he would be giving away a secret of why he keeps that top hand loose and flexes the fingers before the pitch comes in.
A lot of times in the old days, a lot of hitters did that a lot on that because they wanted that top hand to be real relaxed. They didn't want any tension. They didn't want to choke the bat with it. And then as you go into your swing, then you just grip a little tighter as you go. But it's more of a relaxation thing for a lot of those hitters.
Just miss outside, and now it's 3 balls, 2 strikes on Coco. So Zach has already walked 4. His season high is 5, and that was his 3rd start of the year. And that was 3 months ago in Minnesota. 5 walks in 5 innings. Chop to Betancourt. He'll play it to first. And the inning is over. And for the first time tonight, the A's fail to score. Host 3G coverage. And by Chevrolet. Come see for yourself why 1,000 people a day are switching to Chevy. See your Kansas City area Chevy dealer. George Brett's 3,154 hits, all clumped together in the number 5. Baseball representing each hit. Who would have known that exactly that many baseballs would perfectly make a 5 like that?
I wouldn't have, but somebody's smarter than I was. It really looks nice. You're in there, to be able to stand beside it is pretty awesome.
Billy Butler gets it down around the end of the bat, but out into left center field. So a good start for the Royals. In the bottom of the 4th, Billy is 1 for 2.
Well, Gonzalez trying, the ball's really going down a lot, and the Royals have really had to try to fight to keep it off their hands. And you see where Billy had to reach a little bit for this pitch down and got toward the end of the bat and kind of floated it out in the left center field.
And now Jose Guillen, he flied out to right in the 2nd inning. Jose played a short time with the Oakland A's back in 2003. Traded from the Reds to the A's in the middle of the season. The A's went to the postseason that year, and Jose had a broken hand. And the A's tried to get him to go on the disabled list, get it fixed. He refused and played into the postseason with his broken hand. 3-0.
One thing you learn about Jose Guillen, if he's hurt, he's really hurt. I mean, he's one of those guys that you really need to, you want to try to keep out of the lineup, but you can't keep him out of the lineup. We got him the first year as a free agent. He had played 153 games the year before. And then he was hurt a lot last year, but even now he's fighting through a lot of little things. I asked him today about his leg, and he said it's about 80%, and he said it could be a little better, but he's just afraid to really just go full bore. So we decided we'll say it's 80% and give him a little leeway.
Well, if he handles it like he did in Chicago, where he hit a sure double, so he didn't have to worry about running it out, or hits a home run, he can take his time going around the bases. And he can work with 80%. Here he'll take ball 4. So Gonzalez gives up his first walk. Well, we hope you'll come join fellow bikers for Ride to the K. That's tomorrow. Pre-game festivities begin at 3 p.m. in Lot A and will feature music provided by 106.5 The Wolf and food courtesy of Hooters. All ticket purchases will include a Ride to the K patch and a $5 donation to City Union Mission. Alberto Callaspo thinking about bunting to the third base side. Alberto singled in the 2nd inning. And the Royals down by 4. Have 2 on with nobody out. And that's lined into center field. Butler to third. He'll be held there. The bases are loaded with nobody out.
Well, you have to go back and really see where Billy was at second base. Alberto does a good job driving his ball into center field, but Billy got off on the pitch. But Coco Chris, we know, can't throw, but Eddie Rodriguez opted with no out to hold Billy up at third base.
And now Mike Aviles trying to bust out of an 0 for 10. After the first pitch, and pops it up shallow right. And coming up in right field is Gabe Gross. Billy Butler isn't going anywhere. So the base is loaded with 1 out. Here's tonight's league leaders, brought to you by your Kansas City area Toyota dealers. And perhaps the biggest surprise this year for the Royals is how they have turned around their team batting average, still leading the American League at .282, and they have 6 hits already tonight in less than 4 innings.
Well, Ryan, that's something they've been doing all year, getting their base hits. And, you know, the big emphasis is how do we increase production? And you can do it a couple ways. One is you can be more aggressive on the base and hit and run situations, or, you know, some hitters have been known to change their swing and try to hit for a little more power, but at the same time, you're going to lose something on the average. And I don't think Kevin Seitzer wants his hitters to lose anything on the average, but it can be done. I mean, I did it myself and hit more home runs, but the average does go down a little bit, but you are a little more productive.
There's that good curveball, and it's 0-2. But from a starting point, you want to get your hits first, right?
I mean, it's more what the team needs that what it boils down to in the end. You're getting a lot of hits. If you're getting, say, 3 hits for every run, so you can have a lot of nights with 10 hits, 11 hits, you have sometimes 12 hits. But you're going to have 3 runs, maybe 4 runs. And if the other team is averaging, 5 runs a game, you're still going to have a hard time winning ball games.
1 ball, 2 strikes. I mean, it's however you want to look at it. I mean, it's still an accomplishment to lead the league in hitting, but it's almost like people just go right past it and say, yeah, the Royals lead the league in hitting, but they're only 8th or 9th or 10th in runs scored. And I mean, that's not the way to look at it. I mean, the Royals are leading the league in hitting.
And that's huge. I mean, that's huge. You're right. And you don't have the big numbers to go with it. The runs batted in, but I think that the ability to have men on base every night gives you that opportunity to have a big inning every night, and you could conceivably score more runs in the end.
And in reference to your career, I was saying, I'm guessing the first thing you want to do is get your hits, and then as you get older, you get a little wiser. And when do you muscle up a little more? When do you try and go for an extra base hit?
You just wait for those 3-1 situations, 2-0 situations, and you try to change your swing in those situations. But for the most part, you are going for your base hit.
Well, looks like Gonzalez has his good curveball tonight. He gets Willie Bloomquist for the second out.
I mean, but pitching's really been the big thing that Royals have missed most this year. Starting pitching, that's been the big key. And if you go back to Zach Greinke, Luke Hochevar, Bannister, Davies, Bruce Chen, and LaRue, you go back to the last 5 starts, you got 11-12 record with 8 incomplete games. And, I mean, that's a lot. And that puts a lot on your bullpen. And if you can imagine the bullpen not being as sharp as it was in the first half, it could have been more disastrous than it was.
And back then, it was the starters that were kind of picking up the bullpen.
Right. So it just flip-flopped. But now you bring those two together, and you get some decent starts out of your starters, 6 innings and more, and you'd be much better.
Long throw from Kuzminov, and the tag applied by Barton, who may have gotten hurt as Betancourt slammed into his glove. Break in the second half. Zach Greinke's had some control problems. The Royals are down by 4. They've committed a couple of errors, and they just let a bases loaded, nobody out slip away.
Well, we just talked about that, Ryan. They get men on base. They came up with that big hit to really get them back in the ball game, and they're never out of a ball game because they do get men on base. I think they'll have men on base again before this night's over, but you don't want to waste those opportunities to get back in the game when you have bases loaded, nobody out.
Well, we say it so often, and most of the time jokingly, but how many times you see it? A guy makes a great play for the final out of one inning, leads off the next. But I don't think Derek Barton is ready to lead off, as he had a collision with his glove hand, and Yuniesky Betancourt running up the first base line to end the bottom of the 4th inning. And he was very slow coming off the field, and he's still messing with his hands, trying to pump some blood into that top hand, his left hand. So he might have wanted a little more time until he came to the plate again. He has walked and laid down a sacrifice bunt so far tonight.
Normally in those plays at first, you want to get the ball early enough and just ride the runner out. But here, he just had to scoop it and just went straight up into his stomach. And I think that's where he got himself hurt. Normally, you want to be on your feet and just put it in there, but just ride the runner out through the baseline, kind of spin off of him, and you don't get that hand in there.
Well, maybe by design, maybe not. He takes a called 3rd strike. So 1 away, and we head back out to the Hall of Fame in left field, and here's Joel.
Well, Ryan, thanks. And again, it's the 1-year anniversary of the Hall of Fame opening. So Kurt Nelson showing us around this new exhibit, the Cooperstown Corner. We've shown the gloves. We've shown some of the memorabilia. This is the history of the bat. And we got a Billy Butler bat, a recent one up here. Things have evolved a little bit. Take us back to 1870, a bat called the Acorn, Kurt.
Yeah, a lot of times what's changed primarily in the bat is sort of weight distribution, and they would change the handle more than anything else. The barrel has stayed a lot the same. That 1870 was when you can see what's called the Acorn bat, because the knob was a little bit higher, and then the bat went a little bit, and of course it looks like an acorn at the end.
And then we've got the ball handle model 1900. What about, look at the bottom of this.
Well, see, on that one, you can really tell that in that particular time period, they were deciding we need some more weight to offset the weight at the barrel, so they were putting much more down at the handle. So,
and this is the bat of a Hall of Famer here from 1904.
Nap Lajoie. This is his bat, and you can see it's got 2 knobs on it. One was he wanted to be able to put his pinky underneath the second knob. He thought that would give him more stability with his bat, so that's why there's 2 knobs there. And people can come and grab hold of these bats so they can sort of get the feel for what he was talking about.
All right, so many things have changed, and again, incredible Royals memorabilia out here. The Kansas City Athletics, the Kansas City Blues, on, and then this Cooperstown Corner is amazing, so we encourage everybody to come out. We'll check out some of the Philadelphia Athletics or Kansas City Athletics memorabilia tomorrow with them celebrating the history of the A's tomorrow here. And I got to say, Frank, we were asking if you wanted that little peach glove before. How about batting with this thing from 1870? I'm trying to send you back a few years.
Well, that's way too far back for me.
Zach retires the side in order for the first time tonight. A's lead by 4.
of the bat exhibit, history of the glove, the Kansas City connection, that's going to be here permanently. So something that you could see for years to come. And then the stuff that we showed you early on, some of the artifacts, the memorabilia that are here from the Hall of Fame will be here till the end of December. Then they'll work with the Hall of Fame, the Royals will, in switching that out, a new theme for next year. So plenty of time to get out here, but definitely want to do that. Our thanks to Kurt Nelson. People can stop calling him now, or maybe he'll return their calls now. He keeps getting all those phone calls from his friends. But we will be out here, guys, tomorrow, and we'll show you the history of the Kansas City Athletics. Guys?
All right, thanks, Joel. Well, that was a interesting tour of the beginnings of the game. Glove, the ball, the bat, long ways away from where we are right now.
How about the bat that had the really big knob on the bottom? I've never seen that before. We wanted to balance the top out. Unbelievable.
So Pasetnik grounds out, and now Jason Kendall, 1 out of 2 with a first inning single. And the bat next to that one looked like something that may have fallen out of my grandmother's banister. Those called spindles?
Spindles.
Yeah. You remember the Norm Cash story? Norm Cash was playing for the Tigers, and Nolan Ryan was throwing a no-hitter, and he went up in the 8th inning, and he actually ripped a leg off of a table in the clubhouse. And the home plate umpire said, "What is that?" And he told him. He said, "Well, you can't use this." He said, "Well, I'm not going to hit him with my bat. I might as well try this." That's a true story. Kendall grounds out, 2 away. Here's tonight's trivia question brought to you by AT. We're the only 2 players to play in the postseason for both the Royals and the Athletics. Was Vita Blue here during playoff years? Funded foul by DeJesus. He is grounded into a double play and struck out. Well, how about our former colleague, Fox Sports Kansas City colleague, now the bullpen coach of the Houston Astros.
Good call.
We haven't gone in-house yet.
I know Willie Wilson played with the A's.
Yes, he did.
But I'm trying to figure out if they went to the playoffs that year. I'm thinking, what was that, 91 maybe?
Well, they won it in 90.
May have been 90.
Won it. No, excuse me. They lost it in 90. They won it in 89. They lost it in 88. That's a swing. 2-2 on DeJesus. That might be a good call, Frank.
Well, that's pretty good ways. That's, we got a new definition of that check swing, and we thought it would be more there's a wrist break and the bat head gets ahead of the hands, and now they say it's all in the intent. And the umpire sees the intent, and they will call that.
Now, I don't get that reasoning. I mean, because once the bat comes off the shoulder, once you flinch, your intent is to swing, right? I mean, the hitter's not going to say, well, my intention was just to flinch.
I agree. Everything's designed to make it easy on the umpires to make this call.
Up the middle and backhanded by Ellis. And the Royals are down quickly in the 5th inning. MVG Network, AT&T, Rethink Possible, and by Thoroughbred Ford. Trade in your old truck and get into a new Ford F-150 for less at Thoroughbred Ford. Five to 1 A's. That is caught on the short hop by Mike Aviles. And Kevin Kuzminoff, who has driven in 2 and scored tonight, is out on 1 pitch.
Yeah, Mike may just play a little hard on himself, Ryan. If you watch him right here, the ball's to his left. So just run right on through that ball. He tried to stop his body, and that's what created the short hop. If he just runs right through the ball and catches the ball, it's a lot easier play.
Mark Ellis, a former property of the Royals, traded to the A's, which is all of a sudden a long time ago. It was the Johnny Damon trade. Johnny Damon going to Oakland along with Mark Ellis, and that was the deal that sent A.J. Hinch and Angel Baroa to the Royals from the A's. And in the 3-team deal, Roberto Hernandez came over from the Rays. And at that time, Mark Ellis, who had just played a couple of years in the minor leagues, was considered a throw-in. Ellis is out. 1 for 3 tonight, 2 away in the 6th inning. Let's answer tonight's trivia question, brought to you by AT&T. The only 2 players to play in the postseason for both the Royals and the A's. Aha. Give me 5, Frank White.
We got it.
Thank you.
No, Mark Ellis, like Mike Aviles, I believe was a $1,000 sign guy. So both guys have taken that $1,000 and made it work for them.
They've invested it well.
I said, Mike, what'd you do with that $1,000? He said, I can't even remember now.
So a $1,000 sign guy, and now before this season is over, Mark Ellis is going to have more than 8 years in the big leagues and not far away from 9 years in the big leagues. One ball, 1 strike on Gabe Gross. He is flied out to left, grounded out to second. Zach has retired 8 of the last 9 after allowing 5 runs in the first 3 innings. 2-1. Three of the 5 runs tonight are unearned. That was because of a Unievsky Betancourt error in the 3rd inning. Box Tracks brought to you by Taco Bell.
Well, Ryan, you alluded to it. His command has gotten better, and the last 2 pitches have been right on the glove. And I think if Zach stays there, it's going to be tough the rest of the way.
Broken bat. Bloomquist sprinting in from center, diving and making the play. So now Zach has retired 9 of the last 10. with the Royals. Game 3 is on Sunday afternoon, and the first 8,000 fans aged 14 and under will receive a Billy Butler Youth Replica Bat presented by Fox Sports Kansas City. So we hope to see you out here on Sunday afternoon with the kids. Royals.com or 1-800-6-ROYALS to get your tickets right now. Billy will lead off, then Jose Guillen and Alberto Callaspo. Billy 1 for 2 with a single. Bounces it over the mound, behind the bag. Pennington cuts it off and throws him out. Nice play.
This is really a nice play by Cliff Pennington here, just right over the mound, right over second base. He goes over, picks his ball in really one swoop. He transition from glove to hand is quick on this play. He got his body angle back toward first base and made a strike throw over to first base. Nice play.
More routine play this time on the broken bat. Jose Guillen is out. That makes him 0 for 2 with a walk. It is July the 16th, 2010. Tonight's Cabot Woodstein legendary performance takes us back to this date in 1980. George Brett goes 4 for 5 at Fenway against Dennis Eckersley and raises his average above 400 the next day, or a month later in a day. And that was that famously hot day here at Kauffman Stadium, and the famous picture of him standing on second base, hoisting his helmet up in the air.
That was fun to go through that. I mean, that was a press conference every day for George, and he didn't really like the press conferences too much, but when he got on the field, and it was just fun to be a teammate of his and to watch him play every day, just to watch him go about his business.
And he had to find new and creative ways every day to talk about trying to hit 400. I mean, right?
Well, that plus the 30-game hitting streak, it was amazing. He was just constantly in a press conference.
To Mark Ellis, who kicks it around, and that's going to cost them a base runner. Got a little casual on a routine ground ball to second, and Mark Ellis commits his first error of the year.
Well, I'm sure he's really disappointed about that, and this ball came up on him right off the edge of the grass back there, and he just took his eye off of it, Ryan, and just didn't do a good job. And the Cardinals saying that once you bobble the ball is when you try to reach for it with your glove, you usually mess the play up. So you want to get that ball with your bare hand and then get a good throw off.
That snaps a 52-game errorless streak for Mark Ellis going back to last year. And 52 games takes him back to last year because he has spent time on the disabled list this year. Remember when Mark Rutzelanek won the Gold Glove for the Royals in 2006? Well, the A's thought that Mark Ellis was robbed that year. He set a major league record for fielding percentage by a second baseman in 06. He only made 2 errors and had a .997 fielding percentage, but Rutzelanek won the Gold Glove. And there's a Gold Glove-like play by Coco Crisp in center field to end the bottom of the 6th. runs in the first 3 innings. As we take a look at tonight's Honda highlights. Second half begins, a 3-game series. Royals and the A's, they have not met yet this year. And the game began with a controversial call, which resulted in a double from Coco Crisp. He scored in the first inning. Royals tied it in the bottom of the first inning. Then Zach Greinke committed an error in the second. That led to a run. Yuniesky Betancourt committed an error in the third inning, which led to 3 unearned runs. And A's lefty Gio Gonzalez has given up 1 run, 6 hits in 6 innings. Willie Bloomquist with that diving play for the final out of the top of the 6th. Chevy call to the bullpen brings in Kyle Farnsworth, so Zach is done after 6 innings. 5 runs allowed, but again, 3 of those were unearned. He did walk 4. And 2 of those 4 walks came around to score. Rajai Davis fouls it away. He is 0 for 2. So Zach with control problems in the first 3 innings, but then finished retiring 9 of 10, including the last 7 in a row. 1 ball, 1 strike on Davis.
So maybe the 9 days off, maybe that had something to do with the rust, you know, because he did get it together and he started hitting the spots and he looked like the same Zach, but early in the game, a lot of deep counts, and I think that really what got him in trouble.
And this season is a grind over the course of 6 months, 7 if you add spring training. But then again, you guys are very routine oriented. You take 3-4 days off. How badly did the All-Star break throw you off, if it did at all?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that workout. You got to make sure you make that workout and use it to your advantage. You know, you got to go. It's almost like a spring training day. You overtake your ground balls and you try to get as much batting practice as possible and just try to get more game-like, because you know you're going to be right back in it the next day.
Under Cayaspo's glove and into left field, Davis has a leadoff single. Royals baseball is brought to you tonight by Mercedes-Benz. Experience truly great engineering today at your authorized Mercedes-Benz dealer. Beautiful sunset after a stormy late afternoon. And most of the storm missed Kauffman Stadium to the north, then the west, then the south. So pretty much went around Kauffman Stadium. We got a little bit of rain. An angry looking sky for a while, and that gives way to that beautiful sunset. And a big crowd watching tonight. Very close to a sellout with fireworks tonight. Royals were swept in the series at Chicago, but overall had a winning road trip. 9 games before the All-Star break. Royals at one point were 7 games below 500 after sweeping the Seattle Mariners, and then dropped to 10 below after being swept by the White Sox. But then again, I don't know who was going to stop the Chicago White Sox the way they were going last weekend.
Unbelievable. It reminded me of '77 when they was hitting all the home runs and they were coming back for the curtain calls, and it just reminded me so much of that team they had back then. They had like 5 guys with the possibility to hit 20 home runs that year, and every time they hit a home run, they come back out on the top step. That's where the curtain call all started. It was in Chicago.
Really?
Yes. You can understand Aaron Jones coming out for his 400th home run, but every home run that they were hitting, when they hit him that consistently, then they would come back on the top step. I remember Amos Otis hitting one and run around the bases, holding his helmet up over his head. Then he gets back by the dugout. They was throwing beer and everything on it. But that's where it all started.
I didn't know that. Posednik angles into left center field. Cliff Pennington is retired for the first time. Davis back to first. So the A's are in town for 3. Then the Toronto Blue Jays will be in town for a 3-game series beginning on Monday. On Tuesday, the first 20,000 fans receive a Hot Dog Derby T-shirt presented by Farmland Foods. This will be the 5th of 7 T-shirt Tuesdays this summer. You want to get your tickets now so you can add to your collection Tickets at Royals.com or 1-800-6-ROYALS. And if you're keeping track, Mustard won tonight by about a half a bun. And went a little over the top with the celebration, which kind of ruined the win. Davis runs, and Kendall couldn't quite get him. Davis got around the tag. And for Rajai Davis, that is 28 stolen bases.
No, Jason does a good job getting rid of this ball, and Mike did a good job catching it, but he caught it so far up in front of the bag that he really didn't have a chance to come back and make this tag. That's one of those plays I tell you about, Ryan, is when you get a guy going that fast, and if you can get that ball and you can dive in on him and just keep pushing him right on off the bag, because he ended up sliding past the bag and keeping his foot on the bag. So if you can just ride him out, and you can actually ride him right off the bag, and you can get you an out right there.
Now, you would do something like that?
Yes. Well, basically, you just using his own momentum. You're just riding right with him.
You're just helping him,
just
right?
helping him look.
I mean, after all, it's not the infielder's fault that he's going that fast, right?
No, he slid too late. He didn't want to stop at the base. He had to hook it with his toe when he finally got through moving. I don't want the fans to think I cheated or anything.
No, I wouldn't suggest something like that.
But I tried to be a smart player.
Yeah. Well, they didn't call you smooth for nothing. Did it make a difference to you whether a guy slid in head first or feet first?
Yes, it did. I mean, you always want to know the guys that slid. If the guys could slide well at second base, and I would straddle the bag and try to catch the ball and make the tag. But if they slid high, then I would get on the inside and then try to tag them on the back of the leg at that point. Now, if they go head first, then I would want to be on the inside, so that way I can get down on one knee and I can just try to ride them out. And that was just one. John Mayberry had this thing. We had the real fast runners at first base. You know, be as big as he is, he just tagged them extra hard. So just try to just get them on their legs and things like that. So you just little things that you use to try to help you get through the game.
Line to center, but righted Willie Bloomquist. So Coco Crisp is 1 for 4. Davis at second base, 2 down. Check the location on that pitch. Brought to you by Taco Bell.
Kyle hasn't been on the plate with any of those pitches, and he comes right down the middle, and Coco didn't miss. He really squared this ball up, but it was right at Willie in center field.
So Big John would try and slam the ball in the glove on the hand.
Put a little extra on it, yeah.
Big John would do something like that? Wow. You would ride guys off the bag. Big John would slam them on the hand.
Yep, we would break up double plays.
But Big John is such a nice guy.
Game time is totally different. I mean, with the way George went in, they used to tell George, he used to go into second base so hard, and at times he'd hurt himself. And they tried to get George to quit breaking up double plays, but it was part of his DNA. I mean, that's what he was going to do. And I mean, when he and McRae went into second base, something was going to happen, one way or the other. But those guys were extra tough going into second base.
Al McRae taking out Willie Randolph at Yankee Stadium is still one of my favorite baseball highlights ever.
Well, Mac had this way. If it was first and second and less than 2 outs, he would tell the guy on second base, just go ahead and keep going. Because he had this way of, because they didn't have any sliding rules at second base, so he would go in and cross body block you, and then he would roll you up. And if you go back and look at that play, he rolled Willie Randolph up, but you can see his hand come up waving Freddie home from third base because he wasn't going to let Willie up.
That's beautiful.
And that's when they changed the rule.
That's a wild pitch on Kyle Farnsworth, so Davis at third, 2 down. Derek Barton struck out his last time. He has dropped down a sac bunt, and he has walked. And now he pulls one to the right side, and Aviles gloves it. The inning is over. Stretch time at Kauffman Stadium. The Royals are down by 4. American League on the Panera scoreboard. Tampa Bay and New York are tied. That's first place against second place in the East. Cleveland in front of Detroit. They're in second place in the Central. The Tigers are. Toronto has defeated Baltimore. Texas in front of Boston. Red Sox are really struggling. Minnesota's in front of Chicago. Wow. And Seattle is at the Angels. The White Sox won their first game in the second half, so they've won 9 in a row, but that could be coming to an end. White Sox with a 1-game lead over Detroit and 4.5 over Minnesota. 1-1 on Willie Bloomquist. He singled in the second inning, struck out in the fourth. And that was a painful strikeout for Willie and the Royals as they had the bases loaded with nobody out in the fourth inning. But Aviles flied to shallow right. Bloomquist struck out and Betancourt grounded out. And Gio Gonzalez has given up 1 run in 6 innings. He has only won one of his last 5 starts. Ellis backhands and Barton stretches for the out. Ellis just committed his first error of the season in the 6th inning.
Well, he really makes this play look easy. You know, Willie does a good job just staying right with it on the outer half of the plate, and Ellis goes over. You see how quick he gets that right foot down and gets turned, and outstanding play. Just nice play. Didn't get on top. It was more a quick release. But the good thing is getting that body turn. That's a first.
You see that?
You're not supposed to throw your glove at the ball, are you? No.
That's pretty good stuff when the pitcher knocks the glove off the catcher's hand.
That's when you're looking for the ball away and the ball goes way inside. Gets right up in the webbing and just flips it right off of Suzuki's hand.
Two 2-0 on Betancourt, 0 for 2 with a couple of groundouts. And he committed an expensive error in the top of the 3rd inning. Led to 3 unearned runs. Royals scored in the bottom of the 1st. Scott Posednik doubled and scored when David DeJesus grounded into a double play. But now 5 1/3 scoreless from Gio Gonzalez since. Lined into center field for a 1-out hit. Tonight's copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Kansas City Royals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Kansas City Royals Baseball Corporation. Ryan Lefevre with Frank White and Joel Goldberg, along with producer Kevin Schenk, director Steve Kurtenbach, associate producers Al Broughton and Sam Abramson, and the producer of Royals Live is Jeff Graham. And look at that crowd tonight.
Stadium looks great when it's full, doesn't it? Oh, man.
The Royals were selling standing room only tickets. Well, apparently all the seat backs were sold out.
Well, there's plenty of room to stand out that outfield experience. There's a lot of room back there. So it's a lot of people come to this game. A lot of people would bring their kids to this game, and that experience is so good that when the game is over, they ask who won the game, because if the kids are going to keep them back there doing all that great stuff out there in the outfield experience.
Curveball for a strike. It's 1-2 on Pasednik. His double in the first inning is only hit tonight, 1 out of 3. Pulled to first. Barton will go down to second base. No double play with Pasednik's speed. But the A's get the lead runner, and there are 2 out.
Yeah, Barton really jumped on this ground ball by Pasednik and made a heads-up play to second base. I mean, as soon as that ball's hit, he was off like a cat. He knew exactly what he wanted to do when he caught it. And I mean, just watch how fast he moves here, right? Just gets on this ball, gets his body turned, and just makes a strike throw to Pennington at second base. And outstanding play.
Jason Kendall is 1 for 3. Now, Kendall, not one of those guys who would need one of those big knob bats from yesteryear, because he chokes up so high on the bat.
Well, they had that one bat that had the 2 knobs on it, and the hitter used it to put one finger below, but in Kendall's case, he could use it just to choke up.
And in situations like in the first inning, when he wants to hit the ball to the right side, he might choke up more than that. Gonzalez is just eating up his catcher in this inning. And a wild pitch will get Pasednik to second base with 2 outs.
Oh, you're right, Ryan. He just buried this right in the ground, and Suzuki got over there and did the best he could. And luckily, he hit off his leg. It did go under his glove, and it could have easily went all the way back down. And Pasednik being heads up, as soon as he see the ball in the dirt, he got a good jump off first base.
Three balls, 1 strike. Gonzalez, we showed you in the first inning, was having problems with his control lately. But tonight, 1 walk in 6 2/3 innings. Barton into foul ground. And Gio Gonzalez has given up 1 run in 7 innings. Fan, of course, with a packed house, beautiful night, beginning of the second half, and a nice stretch of games at home for the Royals. Another Chevy call to the bullpen for KC. Robinson Tejeda takes over in the 8th. Kyle Farnsworth pitched a scoreless 7. The A's scored all 5 of their runs off of Zach Greinke over 6 innings. 3 of those runs were unearned. Kurt Suzuki, Jack Cust, and Kevin Kuzminoff. It seemed like the Royals were on the road forever in the first half. And the Royals finished up the first half with a long stretch of games on the road. 21 of their final 30 games in the first half were away from Kauffman Stadium, but now they begin the second half, and 13 of the next 17 will be at home.
It's always good to be at home. I think that you need to get well. This is where you need to get well, is at home. And they played well on the road down that last stretch.
That's into left center field. Posednik sprints over to cut it off, and Suzuki will hold with a single. That makes him 1 for 3. Let's check the location on that pitch, brought to you by Quick Trip.
But Tejeda gets the ball down, and Suzuki just went down running this 96-mile-an-hour fastball below the knees and did a good job just getting a good fat part of bat on this ball and hitting a line drive over shortstop.
Jack Cust drove in the first run for the A's back in the first inning. He was designated for assignment in spring training. And Jack Cust, who has led the A's in home runs over the past 3 years, started the season in AAA. 1 ball, 1 strike. He accepted the assignment so that he could receive his full salary. And when you look at his numbers right now, his home runs are down, but his batting average is way up. He's a .290 hitter at the moment. And for Cust, that's 50 points above where he was last year. Posednik brings it down in left field. So Cust is out, and Suzuki is back to first base. Tomorrow night is a 6:10 game. Ivy Royals Live is at 5:30. It's Bruce Chen against Trevor Cahill. Cahill was named to the All-Star game, but because of rules, if a starting pitcher pitches on Sunday before the All-Star game, he is ineligible for the actual All-Star game as a participant. But Cahill was there for the festivities, and he'll pitch tomorrow against Bruce. As Kuzminoff plops it out into shallow right, and Mike Aviles goes out, makes the catch belt high, and there are 2 down.
Well, you never know what that ball's going to do when you catch a ball below your eyes and your eyes don't go down with it, and you got to be pretty fortunate for that ball to go in the glove. Take a look at his head here, and as the ball goes by, he never looked down to make sure he had the ball. He just sort of assumed it's going to be there, and I think that anytime you do that, it's like a shot in the dark.
A strike to Mark Ellis. A crowd tonight of over 37,000. Ellis 1 for 3. He has driven in a run. And he's down, no balls, 2 strikes. Royals down to standing room only tickets. 6,000 walk-up tickets, meaning 6,000 fans who did not buy their tickets until they got here tonight. So you figured that would give the Royals a lift to begin the second half. Fireworks after the game, but fans buzzing about the Royals and their finish to the first half, trying to get back to the 500 mark. And then the question that comes up that relates directly to You Call It tonight: Our sprint question: should the Royals be buyers or sellers? Well, they're 11 games back going into the game tonight, and the Royals were hoping to turn that in the other direction. They were hoping last week, when the deficit was 8, maybe to cut it to 6 or 5, and then you can start talking about being buyers.
Well, that was a big series in Chicago. I mean, that was huge. I mean, you come off a good series against the Cardinals, and then you go out to L.A., have a good series, then you go to Seattle and you sweep, and that series there, to me, was a make-or-break series to kind of put the Royals' mindset to where they wanted to be going forward in terms of being in the race. Because you have 3 teams to jump over, so that's not going to be easy in itself. But when anytime you play the top team, it helps you individually because you beat the top team. Now you gain the whole game.
Chicago White Sox went 25-5 leading up to the break. And before their run, they were 9.5 games out of first place. And when it was all said and done, they were a half game in first place.
That's unbelievable. That's a heck of a turnaround.
Over Tejeda's glove. Avila's backhands near the bag, and the throw is not in time. It's an infield hit for Mark Ellis, and Suzuki moves up to third base.
This play just right over the bag. Mike comes in and does a good effort to make this play. Ellis is just too fast on the play. That's right over the mound. Avila's on the shortstop side of second base. And just a close play at first base.
And the right call by first base umpire Larry Vanover. So first and third, Gabe Gross at the plate. So far 0 for 3 tonight. He lost a blue pit in the 6th inning on a diving play by Willie Bloomquist. You know, love him or hate him, you have to appreciate Ozzie Guillen's honesty after the final game on Sunday when reporters were asking him to sum up that run, and he says, I have no idea. I can't tell you what clicked. I can't tell you that I thought this would happen. I have no explanation how this happened. He was just glad that it did.
Well, when we saw him early in the year, the defense wasn't playing as sharp. The starting pitching wasn't quite where he wanted it to be. And the offense, even Paul Konerko, was really the only offense that they had going at the time. And you could see Rios slowly coming, but, you know, everybody else was struggling with the bat. And all of a sudden, the pitching gets in line. They start pitching good games, and it all just sort of clicked at one time, offense, defense, and pitching.
2 balls and 1 strike on Gabe Gross.
You have some that say when they put Vizquel at third base, you know, it added a little bit more veteran presence. They was catching the ball a little bit more. Team was having some trouble on defense at third base early in the year. And some point to playing Vizquel as a reason that they got turned around and start going in the right direction.
I can think of a game that he saved here on a line drive to third in the 9th inning, wasn't it? I mean,
yes.
A short hop pick. And then, of course, after the game, being humble, saying that it was luck that he made that play. Never mind the 11 gold gloves. Anthony LaRue was the starter on Sunday afternoon in Chicago. Back to Tejeda. He underhands to Butler, and that ends the top of the 8th inning.
Live as Paul Splittorff will be alongside for analysis at a packed Rivals with this big crowd here tonight. Fireworks Friday. Also, we will break down this game. What does Split make of Zach Greinke's night? We'll talk about that. Reaction from Ned Yost, highlights, and much more coming up on Boulevard Royals Live. Guys?
All right, thank you, Joel. Well, maybe the Royals will have better luck against the A's bullpen. Royals scored 1 run in 7 innings against Gio Gonzalez, and now the A's send out another lefty. It is Craig Breslow making his 44th appearance. Good numbers for him. The league is hitting 189 against him. 28 hits in 40 2/3 innings. And he has 41 strikeouts over that stretch. It'll be David DeJesus, Billy Butler, and Jose Guillen. David 0 for 3 against Gonzalez. He grounded in to a double play in the first inning, and that was with runners at first and third. So the double play scored a run. Of course, no RBI for him. Breslow misses with ball 1. One ball, 1 strike. Breslow, originally from the Brewers organization, and he was drafted out of Yale, where he picked up a degree in biochemistry. 1 ball, 2 strikes. After he was released by the Brewers, he played independent league baseball for 1 year, and then got back into organized professional baseball and signed with the Padres in 2005 for $1. DeJesus strikes out, 1 away in the 8th inning. So we were talking about $1,000 signs. How about a $1 sign?
Well, he basically said, "Let's give me a chance." They had to give him something, but $1 is a little. No matter what this guy does, you think you've earned your $1.
Billy Butler 1 for 3 with a 4th inning single. Down in the count, no balls, 1 strike.
I think that just kind of goes to show you how bad some guys really do want to play this game. And when you're willing to start that low, that sends a big message not only to the organization that's signing you, but also to the teammates. It just tells you that this guy wants to be here. I mean, if that doesn't get guys wanting to play, I don't know what will.
Billy is out on a ground ball to short. And to add to that, Frank, we're talking about a guy with a biochemistry degree from Yale, which I think is going to open up a door or two.
Not as much fun as playing baseball, though.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
I got a chance to talk to him last year about his degree, and there's a neat story behind it. He has, thank goodness, a sister named Leslie who was diagnosed with thyroid cancer in 1991, and as a kid trying to process exactly what that meant, he became very interested in science, and that's what led to him eventually going into chemistry and then the biochemistry degree. And his sister is fine now, recovered from thyroid cancer. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Jose Guillen. His specialty as a biochemistry major was stem cell research. And there might be a few bucks to be made in that department these days. Two balls, 2 strikes.
He can intern in the offseason. But I mean, just to be able to know that stuff is just unbelievable. Baseball is a science in itself, but nowhere close to what he's talking about.
Guillen is down on strikes, and Breslow has an easy 8th inning. He strikes out 2. to the top of the 6th inning.
This is Willie Bloomquist on a line drive by Gabe Gross, and he does a great job, Ryan, just coming in and making a diving play coming forward. One of the toughest diving plays for an outfielder to make, and he makes it look easy.
Rajai Davis will lead off as Joakim Soria takes over. He was the Royals representative in the All-Star game. He did not appear in the game, which I'm sure is fine by him. I mean, who wants to be associated with a loss to the National League?
It was a long run.
Come on.
It was a long run, I tell you.
Was it 1996?
Yes.
Last time the National League won before this year?
And we made him quit talking about Pete Rose running over Ray Fosse. That's home plate.
Speaking of Ray Fosse, Oakland A's television broadcaster, longtime A's television broadcaster. And Soria walks Rajai Davis on 4 pitches. So Soria, perhaps like Zach Greinke, dealing with a little bit of rust tonight. Here's Pitch Tracks, brought to you by Quick Trip.
Well, you can see working off the outside corner down, and this one's right on the corner. But after 3 on the outside off the plate, he kind of set the tone for that last pitch.
Davis will run. He stole his 28th base in the 7th inning. The A's have 2 stolen bases tonight, and that's news. I mean, 4 or 5 years ago, the A's wouldn't have 2 stolen bases in a whole year against the Royals. They've got 2 tonight. And the way they were going at that time with high on-base percentage hitters and power hitters, they had done all the research, which had showed that playing for 1 run, dropping down a sacrifice bunt, stealing a guy, getting him into second base, that over the course of the season, you lose more runs by giving up an out as opposed to just sitting back and using all 3 of your outs and having a lot of power and hoping that one of your big guys will lean into one and hit a 2 or 3 run home run. Left field, Posednik is there. So Pennington is out and Davis is back to first.
But I think that all makes sense. But when you start losing games and you're not winning games and you see where a bunt may have won you a game, then it starts to change. I don't know if this is a correlation or not, but as the steroids were slowly going out of the game and the home runs started to go down in the game, you had more teams in spring training this year talking about speed and doing the little things that the manufacturer runs than at any time before in the game.
Balls aren't flying out of here like they were.
Right, and that's the key. Now that's been the going back to speed, we're going back to defense and pitching, and you didn't hear that talk for the last 5 years. I mean, I think right now 20 home runs is 20 home runs. I know when I get 20 home runs, I mean, I thought that was the greatest thing since sliced bread. But after a while, 20 home runs, what's 20 home runs?
Yeah, they were giving out memberships to the 20 home run club on the street. Coco Crisp has scored twice. To begin the game, he had a line drive that was first ruled foul by first base umpire Larry Vanover. The A's protested, and after the umpires got together, they awarded Coco with a double. He eventually came around to score. So that was a key play, but maybe even more than that in the 3rd inning with a runner at first and nobody out. Coco hit a ground ball back to Zach Greinke, who made a good throw down to second base. It was dropped by Yuniesky Betancourt, so instead of a double play and 2 outs and nobody on, there was nobody out. The A's scored 3 runs in the inning, and all the runs were unearned. To Uni, down to a knee, and no double play. Coco is going to be sent back to the plate. Was time called before the pitch was thrown? Davis is going to stay at second base. So it appears that maybe a balk was called on Soria before the pitch was thrown. Yeah, he's going to talk to second base umpire and crew chief Jeff Kellogg and ask him about the balk. So a balk called right before the pitch was delivered.
Yeah, most times it's take a look at him right here, Rhino. The left knee did come up. Came up a couple times, but if that's his normal set routine, that's okay. But a lot of times they get you when you don't come to a complete stop. But everything's good right there.
That's being pretty picky.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how that is deceiving the runner. See, I think all the umpires should get together now and talk about that. 2 balls and 1 strike on Coco.
One day.
And maybe even from the crowd and ask him. You see.
That may be too. Let the fans choose. I don't know. I'm just getting disenchanted with that whole thing. I mean, make your call and live with your call, and that's the way I mean, over the course of the year, they're gonna get more right than wrong.
That is a fair ball handled by Billy. Gets it to Soria. That's out number 2. Davis moves up to third base.
Well, excellent play by Billy on the line. He does a great job here, and Soria does a great job getting over to first base. It's probably been a more difficult play if Billy had tried to make this play on his own, but he does a great job going to his left, goes across the line, and now he's got to get himself going toward first. He does a great job getting his body going that direction and feeding Soria chest high, making a play easy for him. But that pitcher's definitely got to get over there. Joaquin Soria does a great job, and then he remembers there's a runner on second, and he looks home right after the play. So executed just like in spring training.
Center field, deep. And Willie is back to the warning track to retire Derek Barton. Bottom of the 9th inning, Royals are down 5-1. The all-star team, but didn't get a chance to pitch. It had been a while since he had thrown in a game, so Royals down by 4. He gets some work tonight. And now the Royals will face Michael Wirtz in the bottom of the 9th inning with Alberto Callaspo, Mike Aviles, and Willie Bloomquist coming up. And this is the first right-hand pitcher the Royals will see tonight. Gio Gonzalez gave up 1 run in 7 innings. And then Craig Breslow pitched a scoreless 8th with a couple of strikeouts. Alberto Callaspo hit just .222 on the last road trip before the break, but tonight has 2 hits, and he'll move over to the left side of the plate. The Oakland A's are third in the league in ERA. So their overall record has them 3 games below 500, and they are sinking in the American League West. They're 8 games back in third place, but it hasn't been because of their pitching. So a very young starting rotation, the youngest in the American League, but a pitching strong organization and a pitching strong roster this year. So rally caps all around Kauffman Stadium. The Royals need 4 runs in the 9th. Left center field, and Coco Crisp makes the play. So Callaspo is 2 for 4. You might remember the A's got off to a good start this year. At the end of May, they were 28-24, and they were in first place. So they led the division for the first 2 months. But 7 games below 500 since. They really had a lot of trouble with the National League this year. When interleague play started, the A's were 2 games back. When it concluded, they were 10 games back.
They may argue that there are too many interleague games. Was about 18 of them, and that's a lot of games.
1 ball, 1 strike on Mike Aviles.
So you kind of like to have your own division kind of decide whether you make it or not, but that's enough games to really hurt you in the long run.
Deep short, Pennington backhands, and Barton with a nice stretch. Fox tracks. Will give us a look at the location on that last pitch.
They're just right down the middle of the plate up. One of those pitches that Aviles really likes. He just got over the top and pulled this, and Pennington did a great job showing his arm strength, and Barton did what I like to see first baseman do. I like to see him stretch out there and really help that infielder out on a close play.
So Willie Bloomquist with 2 outs and nobody on. And he jumps on the first pitch. Davis is there, and the A's take game 1. And for the Oakland A's, they are now 32-11 in their last 43 here at Kauffman Stadium.